The purpose of this module is to introduce a principle of teaching in the field of behavior analysis known as incidental teaching, define incidental teaching, and examine a real case scenario that demonstrates this teaching strategy. Many teachers and parents struggle with how to best teach communication to young students with autism spectrum disorders and ensure that the skills generalize to a variety of settings, people, and materials. Incidental teaching is a strategy that can be used to address these issues. It applies methods of applied behavior analysis to skills taught in typical preschool or home settings. After completing this module, you will be able to define incidental teaching, state the aim of incidental teaching, list the 7 key steps to carrying out incidental teaching, list advantages to using incidental teaching, and understand the importance of data collection and assessment of skill development during incidental teaching. Incidental teaching can be described as a systematic protocol of instruction that is provided in the context of natural environments. Incidental teaching evolved from the field of applied behavioral analysis, which is developed into a form of language instruction that works well with many children diagnosed with autism. Incidental teaching has the same principles of learning that's found in discrete trial training following the same technical conditions. The intervention is composed of operant techniques. The intervention goals are socially significant, and the intervention results are analyzed objectively by assessing each child's progress before, during, and after the intervention. The aim of incidental teaching is to increase and improve communication skills. According to ICANN, there are 7 key steps in carrying out incidental teaching. 1. The teacher or parent chooses an educational objective. 2. The adult arranges the natural environment to promote student motivation and interest in the materials related to the teaching objective. For example, the child can see the materials but does not have access to them. Or the adult sees the child playing with a toy and gently takes the toy and plays with it. 3. The child shows interest in the materials through verbalization or gesture, thus initiating the teaching session.
Green. I can't hear you. Green, thank you.
Henry, what do you want?
4. The adult encourages the child to elaborate on his or her initiation based on the child's developmental level. If the adult does not understand what item or activity the child wants, the adult first asks, "What do you want?"
Henry, what do you want? Yellow bus. Yellow bus.
Yellow bus.
Good job. Nice saying yellow bus.
The following are ways to encourage elaborate responses. Ask a question.
What shape do you want?
Oh.
Make a gesture, sound, or word.
The gray raccoons. Say gray raccoon.
Gray raccoon.
Model the desired response.
Raccoon.
5. The child responds correctly to the prompt. The adult provides specific praise and gives the child brief access to the desired materials or activity.
Very nice. My turn? Rooster, very good. You can do the last one. Good job. That was awesome.
6. If the child does not respond or responds incorrectly, the adult provides up to 3 more prompts, such as providing the necessary words. Once the child responds correctly, he or she receives specific praise and brief access to the materials.
Nice job putting it.
Okay, my turn.
6.
I'm taking a
What's 12?
yellow pig.
7. The adult takes
Yellow.
turns with the materials.
His shirt is yellow. Your turn.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The steps begin again. The incidental teaching session
Your
should
turn.
end with
For a
success.
pig.
The child responds correctly and receives access to the materials. The session should be brief and end once the child
very
loses
good.
interest.
White pig.
In review,
Nice.
incidental
Your
teaching
word,
is a
Collins.
teaching strategy used by a teacher or parent and takes advantage of naturally occurring incidents or situations to provide learning opportunities for students. The adult organizes the learning environment around a set of pre-planned learning objectives by taking into account the child's individual preferences.
Very nice.
When the child demonstrates an interest in an item or activity, the adult encourages that interest by questioning or prompting the student, providing praise for following instruction. There are several advantages to incidental teaching. First, it is thought that teaching within the context of typical preschool activities promotes generalization of skills. In addition, social initiations, a deficit of many children with ASD, are an integral part of incidental teaching. The basis for incidental teaching lies in the student initiating a teaching session. Lessons involve interactions in which the child expresses interest and the adult responds with prompt and praise. Families are also able to integrate incidental teaching into typical daily routines by finding ways to encourage their children to elaborate during everyday activities such as dinner time, outside play, bedtime, and bath. According to Brenda Smith Miles, evaluation should take place during teaching sessions within other settings, with a variety of communicative partners, and with a variety of instructional materials to ensure that generalization takes place. This can occur by taking probe data collection. When collecting probe data, unlike in the middle of a teaching session during which the adult would wait for the child to initiate the session by showing interest in an item with a gesture or verbalization, the adult would initiate the data collection session by asking the child elaboration questions. Correct responses occur when the child uses a correct elaboration spontaneously or within approximately 5 seconds of the adult's question. Errors are those exchanges in which the child does not respond or responds after 5 seconds or responds incorrectly. In the case of an error during data collection, the adult would not prompt a correct response and the child would not receive the item.
Your words, please.
It's important to keep data collection sessions short to prevent student frustration. Data should be collected frequently to make certain that the child is making progress. If the data does not show improvement, another strategy should be considered, or the method of delivery should be assessed to judge if changes are necessary.
You want to blow?